Alright guys, we're going to go over comparing and ordering integers. Alright, that's two different things. Comparing is whenever you have two numbers and you are determining whether they are greater than, less than, or equal to each other. Alright, and ordering is when we order them least to greatest. Alright, and it says we're dealing with integers here. You want to remember that integers are what we call counting numbers. That would be anything you would see on this number line. It's negative and positive numbers, but it's just your whole numbers. You know, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. All right, that's what an integer is. Okay, and so first we'll go over comparing. All right, I have us a few examples here. Okay, one of the first things you want to look at when you are comparing two numbers, it's very important that you look at their sign. Okay. So right here we have -3 and -5, and the way we determine how we compare and order numbers, we use the same thing as we use the number line. And the thing we have to remember about the number line is that the number that is farthest to the left is always smaller than the numbers to the right. Okay, so as you go farther to the right down the number line, the numbers get bigger. So whichever number is farthest to the left, that's the smallest. Whichever number is farthest to the right, that's going to be your biggest number. All right, and we use that when we're comparing and ordering. Okay, so right here, if I have -3 and -5, all right, we have two negative numbers. All right, but -3 on the number line is going to be farther to the right than -5. So if it's going to be farther to the right, then it is greater than -5. All right, -5 and 0. All right, we have a negative number and we have 0. And we know that 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay, but -5 on this number line is farther to the left. And we know if it's farther to the left, that means that it is less than. So we have -5 is less than 0. All right, and then we have 6 and -1. All right, this will be one of the easier problems you have is when you have a positive number and a negative number. We know that every positive number is bigger than every negative number. So anytime you have a positive and a negative, your positive number will always be greater than your negative number. Okay? And so we're going to use the number line a lot with this, but that's first of all how you compare them. All right, remember comparing is just when you have two numbers and you're determining greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay? Now then, we will also order our integers. All right. Now there are two ways to order numbers. All right. The most common way is least to greatest. Okay. We do least to greatest, which means we have the smallest number in order to the biggest number. Okay. And so if we had a list of numbers, and we had -4, 3, 11, -25. Okay? The problems you have, they will give you a set of numbers, and it is your job. All right, you're going to have to be the one to take it and order it least to greatest, or greatest to least. Right here, we're doing least to greatest. All right, and we know, like we said when we were comparing a while ago, that all of our negative numbers are smaller than all of our positive numbers. So since we're least to greatest, we're going to start with our smallest numbers. I want to look at my two negative numbers. Okay? We know that these two negative numbers are going to be smaller than these two positive numbers. All right, so if I have -4 and -25, since we're least to greatest, I want to find the smallest of those two numbers. All right? And just like we did earlier with our number line, the number farthest to the left, that is our smallest number. So -25 will be farther to the left than -4. So we would start with -25. All right, and every time you use one of these numbers, you mark it out so you don't use it twice. Okay, so we have -25, comma to separate it in the next number. All right, we only have one other negative number left, so we know we'll have -4. So we cancel that out. Then all we have left is 3 and 11. Okay, and remember we're going least to greatest, so we want to take the smallest of these numbers first. All right, so we know that would be 3. Mark that out, and that leaves us with 11 okay? And so there you have your numbers ordered from least to greatest. It'll give you a set of numbers, go through, be sure that you pay attention to your signs, all right, whether they're positive or negative, all right, and whether it says least to greatest or greatest to least, okay? I'll give us one more, all right, and this time we will do greatest to least, okay? Okay. So again, first thing you have to do is pay attention whether it's greatest to least or least to greatest. This time it is greatest to least. All right, so now we're taking our biggest numbers first, and then we're descending, okay? We're going to our smallest numbers, okay? So since we want the biggest numbers first, we will only look at our positive numbers, okay? So we're only looking at 30, 12, and 3, all right? And the biggest number of those three, the number that would be farthest to the right, would be the biggest, farthest to the right on the number line would be 30. All right, so we'll start with 30, comma. Remember, every time you write a number down from this list, you want to mark it out so you don't get confused and use one twice. All right, so we marked out 30. That leaves us with 12 and 3. We know that 12 is greater than 3. We use 12. We mark it out, comma. That the only positive number we have left is 3, so we know that has to be our next number. All right, now we mark it out. Now then, the only two numbers we have left are negative 18 and negative 6. Now we have to remember that these are negative numbers, all right, and we are putting it greatest to least. All right, so I want to find the bigger of these two numbers, all right, to put first. And if we're looking at a number line, do not forget that the number that's farthest to the right is going to be the bigger number, okay? Well, on a number line, the one that would be farthest to the right here we have negative 6, we have negative 18 over here. Well, negative 6 is farther to the right, so it's the bigger number. So I would use negative 6. I'd mark that out. Then that leaves us with only negative 18 left. Mark that out. And that is putting our numbers in order from greatest to least. Okay? So remember, comparing is when we have two numbers and we're determining whether they're greater than, less than, or equal to. Ordering is when we do least to greatest or greatest to least and we have a set of numbers. You always want to make sure you pay attention to the signs. All right, determine whether they're positive or negative. And be sure you pay attention to what it's asking you, greatest to least or least to greatest.